So I think a goal is that eventually the schedule is actually just going to be fed into the system so that you guys don't actually have to enter games. But at least to get things started for the spring, it sounds like that you guys will be creating a spreadsheet with the schedule, importing that into the system, and that's how the games are going to get in at least to kind of start things out. This test site here does have some games in it already, but I'm just going to walk you through what that process looks like to import. So what you're going to do is you're going to start on the game screen. So you'll click on games and then choose this top one that's all games. That's where you're really going to be spending time. If you're assigning, that's really where you're going to go in the system to do that. So then we'll just click on import a spreadsheet. And then there's also, I'll show you kind of what the spreadsheet layout looks like. But if you ever need an example of what a spreadsheet looks like, you can just click on either of these links here for, so we'll do is we'll just click on the games link and it'll just download a sample file for you to take a look at. And we'll just kind of show you what that, what that looks like. Let me, this a little bigger. So really it's just that your spreadsheet has to have one row per game. And then this is typically what you would need in terms of the column heading. So the system itself is very flexible. It doesn't really care how things are spelled in terms of this first row. It does expect that you'll have some column headings in that first row, but I wouldn't get too hung up of having this particular spreadsheet match exactly. So I think as long as you've got the elements that you would need to create these games into the system, so really it's going to be the date, the time, the location, the age group, which is what we use in the system to determine the rate of pay as well as sort of the skill level. So I think that's kind of an important field. And then the home team and away team, those are required. But basically anything else that you see actually isn't required. So the league, the gender, the game type, and any of those other fields are really not required. It's certainly if you have them, you can import them, but it's not required. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by uploading this file. Let's see if I can find it here. I think it was this one. That's four. I think it was. Yep, it was four. Okay, and then so what it's going to do is it hasn't uploaded the games yet. It's going to show you your information, and then it's going to confirm that what it thinks is the date column is actually going to be the date column. So in this case here, it's going to guess. So it sees the word date here, and it says, okay, this must be the column that corresponds to date, to time, to location, to age group. So all of these are matching up. But if for some reason, let's say that it didn't get it right, or you might see something where it says skip this column because it just doesn't know what that is that you're able to change these. So let's say that this was not the league here. Let's say that this was the gender and this was actually just not correct. You can make these changes here and then and then this is what assigner will use to make sure that the right column for your spreadsheet goes into the correct place within assigner. The other thing that you're going to see up at the top here is it's going to say choose the default pattern. And so the word pattern in assigner is basically the number and types of officials that are going to be assigned. And my understanding is that just about all of your games will have 2 officials, but there may be some games that have 3 officials. So what we're going to do is we're just going to choose the default here of 2. And so what that's going to do is that's going to set these games up so that each game expects to have 2 officials that are assigned to that game. So the other thing is, well, you might not necessarily see the district drop down here, but I've got administrative rights in here. And so I have access to all of the districts. For you as a district manager, you're probably not even going to see that. But when I'm doing this import here, I'm going to import this into District 38 on this test site here. So everything looks okay. So we're going to click submit and we're going to wait just a minute for it to import these games into the system. So, and what it'll do too is if there's any issues with your spreadsheet is that once it's done, it'll tell you exactly what the problems were. It'll tell you the row and it'll say exactly why a particular game couldn't be imported. In this case here, this everything went in just fine. So there weren't any issues with this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the game screen and we can see the games that were imported. And actually, I think these were on April 10th. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to shift the date of what I'm looking at. So basically right now it's looking at everything from today forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this to just to show you the information that was imported. So this was April 10th, which is the spreadsheet that was on, or the one of the games that was on my spreadsheet. So what this is showing here is I've just kind of moved forward in the schedule. It's going to show me the and everything to me looks good here. So it's got the team names, it's got the age group that I'd set up, and I'm seeing two officials that are going to be assigned here. And we'll show you here in a second kind of what that assigning process looks like. So
Jeff, a quick question. Often the venues have more than one field available. Do we set that up as a separate venue, or how do we do with it? What's the best practices?
yeah, so what you can do with that is that I didn't really show this, but you can actually what I would do is I would actually add that as another column. So I think we call it sub venue, but that's just what it's called in the system. So if this was Chelan, let's say if this was Chelan Court Field 1, then you would just have that as its own, that it's you would have that as its own column, and then
Okay.
that's how you would set that up.